We're going to discuss our CUA review number 7. I'm starting with question number 1 because it's given me a mathematical equation of a line, x equals -7. And if you don't know what x equals -7 looks like, first thing you could do is go put it in Desmos. And so I have split my screen. When you're in Eduphoria, obviously you have the Desmos calculator. So guys, I have a vertical line going up and down. I'm going to sketch this on my paper so that I can highlight it. So I have a vertical line going up and down. That's x equals -7, okay? Now, when I do domain or range, I want to remember Dr. X, Y. The reason I say Dr. X, Y, D, domain, R, range, they're in alphabetical order. So is an ordered pair, X, comma, Y. The D goes with your domain which is X, excuse me, and the Y goes with range, okay? So domain X, range Y. So I'm going to deal with my domain first. When I'm looking at domain, I am only looking at X values in the X axis, which when I'm looking at the answer choices, I'm going to knock this one out immediately because it's talking about Y values, and I shouldn't be looking at Y values when I'm dealing with D domain, okay? Now, that means that it could be all real X values will be -7, or it could be all real numbers. Well, here's how I'm going to know. I go look at this line, and you'll see that the only place that my line follows down to the X axis is at -7. In fact, I'm going to run my finger along the right side of the screen where I have graphed the equation x equals -7. And if you look at every single ordered pair as I'm following it along, they all have a value of x equals -7. The y's are changing, but the x's are always -7. So my answer to the first part of this question is all x values are going to be -7. Now let's go talk about range. So range, R, doctor, R goes with Y. I'm going to go highlight my Y axis. And when I look at this line, guys, they didn't draw a graph for me, but this is really a line with arrows going on forever. There is no top point. There is no bottom point. This is going up and down forever. There are no boundaries. So again, let's rule out obviously bad answers. Range can't have anything to do with X values. It has to only deal with Y values. And there is no boundary. It can go up. I can go scroll along this line in Desmos. I'm getting really high values. I'm getting really, really low values. There is no boundary. It is all real numbers. So I should be selecting this one. Range is all real numbers. Okay, question number 2. Which situation shows causation? Cause one thing, cause the other one to happen. The age of a child and his or her shoe size. Well, let's think about that. As a kid gets older, from say 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, will their shoe size be getting bigger? I would argue that yes, as you get older, your shoe size is getting bigger. Now, it says child. Miss Jones is not continuing to have my foot grow, I hope. There is at some point that you top out, but as a child, typically your foot is growing as you get older. The number of hours you sleep affects how well you will do on a test. Well, it may affect it. I'm not sure. Some people don't really require sleep or require as much sleep, and you may be able to function pretty much as well with or without a lot of sleep. The number of sodas you drank and the expected sunlight outside. That is completely ridiculous. No, that's nonsense. Miss Jones drinks a lot of soda every day. Some days it rains, some days it shines. The amount of a salesperson makes each month and the number of sales they had that month. Now, this one, if I look at my salary and I look at the number of sales that I had, if I'm a salesperson, a lot of times what they make is based on their salary. So the more they sell, the more they earn. There's something called commission. You guys may have heard of that. So the more you sell, the more you earn. This is also a maybe. So Based on which one shows the best causation, C is definitely out. B is not a great answer. I would say that A and D both look reasonable. I'm going to go with D because, again, assuming the salesperson is working on commission, we really need a little bit more information there. This is not a great question, but I'm assuming he makes more money the more he sells. Okay. And again, we're ruling out the child because eventually your foot stops growing when you're still a child. Okay. The part of the linear function is graphed, and I'm looking for the domain and range. So we just talked about domain and range. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go highlight my x-axis, and I'm going to deal with domain, x-axis, and I'm going to figure out where's my bottom x, where's my top x. And I'm going to go write down x, 2 blanks. My bottom x looks to be -9 right here. My top x looks to be a +8. I draw my arrows in from least to greatest order. Next to the -9, that is an open circle, so do not underline. Next to the 8, that one is a closed circle. I do underline. So looking at that, negative, oh, and I'm sorry, y'all, that wasn't an 8, that's a 6. You're probably looking at me like, Miss Jones, can you not read? It's a 6. So I'm going from -9 to 6. I'm also making sure that domain is with my x. So this one's out because those are the wrong 2 numbers. It's got the -9 and the 6 down with the range. We don't want it with the range. This one looks good, and my arrows look good. This one looks good, except for that's supposed to be a closed circle. It should be underlined. Maybe it is, and maybe, no, it's not. And then this one is wrong because the numbers are wrong. So out, out. It must be B, but I'm going to go confirm it. So now let's go do range. Range. Just looking at my Y's. So I'm going to follow my lowest point over, follow my highest point over. I'm seeing a -3 and a 7. So I'm going to write down my Y, my 2 blanks. Low number is -3, high number is 7. Low circle is an open, so don't underline it. High circle is closed, underline it. And that matches the second one. Now, guys, don't get confused by T of X. That's the same thing as saying Y, okay? And we did functions back in the first semester. Same thing. So B is my correct answer. Okay, this is a discrete range. They're asking us for range again. Range. So remember, don't look at anything but your y-axis. So don't look at the numbers on the x-axis. Look to see where each one of these numbers would intersect the y-axis, and that's it. So what I see here is it looks like a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, and an 8. So I'm looking for, oh, and a 0. My bad, there's also a 0 there. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, guys, 9 and 10 don't have dots next to them. Y'all see that there's no dot up here? There's no dot anywhere up here. So don't go picking these, don't go pick that, okay? Somebody who picks C is probably looking down at the x-axis. We're not looking for domain, so this one's out. And then D looks like it's the domain and the range and some extra numbers. I think that's just a list of all the numbers that you see labeled on the graph. We only want to see points on graph and just the Y value. So my answer is A. Okay, now we're looking for domain. So let's go look at our other axis. So I'm going to go back and look at my x-axis, and I'm going to do the same thing. Now I'm going to follow my points down. I have a 0 right there, and a 4, and an 8, and a 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. Don't go picking extra numbers, okay? So 0, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. Looks like C is what matches that list of numbers. Okay, a sequence is defined by f of 1 equals 24, and then f of n equals f of n minus 1 minus 5 for each number where n is greater than 1. What are the first 4 terms? Guys, if I tell you what the first term is, then you need to go and look at what the common difference is. And the common difference is going to be what you see at the end of the rule. So the common difference must be minus 5, which means if my first term is 24, then we definitely want to look at our two answers that start with 24. They're telling you f of 1, the first term. So if the first term is 24, and then after that, I'm going to subtract 5 and get my next term. Subtract 5 and get my next term. Subtract 5 and get my next term. Subtract, and we just needed the first 4. The answer is A. B looks like it's going up, so this must have a common difference of plus 5, and we're looking for a minus 5. Okay, we're looking for domain and domain. So it looks like this one has some limits. This is going to be continuous. So remember, Dr. X, Y. I'm looking for domain. So the x-axis, domain, x-axis. So follow your points back to the x-axis, and I'm going to put an x in the middle. My low point, which is negative 5. My high point, which is 10. Both of these are open circles. So we just have regular arrows, no greater than or equal to. This is just going to be greater than and less than. We're not going to do the greater than or equal to. So this is out, this is out. We do not have or equal to situations, okay? So we're looking for x's that are greater than negative 5, less than positive 10. So you have to circle two answers there. Okay, this is one of those scatter plots where we're looking for the line of best fit and or we're looking for the equation. You're going to put it in your calculator. Menu 613. You don't even need to look at the graph at all. All you need to do is menu 613. So it looks like our X's are going to be our month of the year and our Y's are going to be our temperature. While I'm talking, I'm going to go and do it on my calculator, but you can't see this. So you're going to add calculator. You're going to type in menu 613. You need to remember to hit control and fancy brackets, which is right next to the 0. And then you put in all of your X's. Put in every single point. So I'm typing them all in. I'm going to show on paper what it's going to look like on your screen. So my X list is going to look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Close my fancy brackets. My Y list will be all of the Y values, 47, 54, all the way up to 49, which I'm about to do right now. And I got, on my calculator, it gave me these numbers. M equals 2.073, kind of went on. B equals 58.27, kept going. And then also, I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there, the R is 0.416. If y'all will remember, that's less than 0.5. I would say this is a weak positive. They don't ask it on this question, but it's a good time to talk about it. But I'm just going to match this up with these answer choices, and it looks like C. Slope is 2.073. Y-intercept is 58.27. Okay, number 9, I have a sequence of numbers. Based on this information, I need to find the nth term. Guys, this time they're giving me the list of numbers. So we are going to go and look for the common difference. Do you see how it goes from the 5th number to the 6th number to the 7th number to the 8th number? Okay, I'm going from 29 to 33. That's getting bigger, right? It is increasing by 4, okay? That means that's your slope. Slope is 4. So if they're going to give you a rule, it has to be positive 4 is being multiplied times your slope. So when I go look at these answer choices, minus 4 is out for sure, okay? The next thing you're going to need to do is go and look at menu 613. Because menu 613 is going to tell me my starting point. So here's my list. Here's my table. Your position number is your X. And then your output is your Y. This is your term. So first position is 5. The value is 29. Second position is 6. Value is 33. Okay. So there's my, I'm just going to do 2 of them. You only really need to do 2. You can do more if you want to. So I'm going to do menu 613. I'm going to do my 2 X's. So that's going to be 5 and 6. I'm going to do my 2 Y's, which is going to be 29 and 33. And this is what I'm getting. M is 4. And I'm getting a B of 9. That's your y-intercept. So that's actually when you are in the 0 position. So if I'm increasing by 4 each time, I want you to think about it. If I'm increasing by 4, 4 is my common difference, and this is my 0 position, then my first position is going to be that 9 plus 4, which is 13. Okay, so 13 is my starting, so that means 17 is out. And anytime you have your rule, it is always in this format where you're doing n minus 1. So A has to be the correct answer. A is your rule. Look for your common difference or your slope. See if you can find your starting number. Here's the other thing that you could have done, which might have been a little easier for y'all to find. That first number is always your initial value. Is since my 5th number was 29, I could have worked backwards to my 4th number by subtracting 4, which is my common difference, and I would have been at 25. My 3rd number, subtract 4, will be at 21. My 2nd number, subtract 4, will be at 17. And my first number in the sequence, subtract 4, and you would be at 13. Okay, I have a function. What's the value of j of 7? All you're doing is replacing your x with 7. And then you can either type this in your calculator, or I'll show you how to do it on Desmos. So I'm going to be doing -4 times 3 times 7 minus 5 to the 2nd power. I'm also going to show you how you can do it in Desmos, because it is super easy. So over here on Desmos, I can go and say what the function is. F of x, oops, I got to do the parentheses right. F of x equals -4 3x. I'm typing in exactly what I see in the rule. Okay, so if I then want to know what the function of, and I'm sorry, that was a j of x. I'm just going to call it f of x instead of j of x. So if I want to know what the function of 7 is, helps if Miss Jones puts her equal in there. It'll do it for me. So this is the same as you typing it into the calculator. If you type in the function itself, And then on the second line, you ask what is the function of whatever number you're trying to come up with. You can either use a yellow calculator or you can type it in. And then when you type in your answers, you have to type it in exactly the way it appears. Negative 1024. Okay. What are the domain of range of z of x is negative 15? Ladies and gentlemen, that's the same thing as saying y. That's not saying x is negative 15. That's the same thing as saying y is equal to negative 15. So again, in Desmos, if you go type in y equals y, you can zoom out a little bit. Y equals negative 15. You can see I have a horizontal line, okay? So I'm going to sketch it over here. I have this horizontal line that looks like this, okay? And it is located at the level negative 15. That right there is negative 15. So when you're doing your domain and range, let's start out with our domain. Domain is your x-axis. Remember, D, R, X, Y. Let's do our domain first. That's our x-axis. I'm going to go highlight my x-axis. As you can see, the arrow is going to the left and the arrow is going to the right forever. So there is no limit for my x's. That means all x's, all real numbers. So this one is good. This one is good. B and C are out because your x is not limited at all. X's go on forever in both directions. Now I'm going to look at my range, my up and down, my y's. So here's my y's going up and down. The only y we have is 15. That's it. So we've either got all real numbers or the y's will just be 15. That's what we're looking for. D is your correct answer. Okay. Number 12, I see a table and I see the words rate of change. What's the same thing as rate of change? That's your slope. Remember, that's your M, and we can do menu 6, 1, 3. If you'll just put a couple of those in there. And actually, I'm going to put them all in there because it may not be linear. This may be like a scatter plot situation. So I'm going to do menu 613. I'm doing all my x's, 0, comma, 1.5, comma, 3, comma, 4.5. So those are my x's. I got to do control fancy brackets again to get my y's, 60, 66, 72, 78. And when I did that, what I got was M equals 4, B equals 60. I don't care about the B. All they ask for is what is my slope. So the answer is, based on the table, the rate of change is going to be 4. And that's all you put. Don't put M equals 4, just put 4. Okay. Number 13 is an old skill. Remember, we have to get y by itself. To get y by itself, I have to do the exciting move. Bring down my 2y. Over here, bring down my negative 3x. Bring down my negative 12. And then I have to do the great divide. Y equals negative 3 over 2x minus 6. When you come click on this, you're going to need to click on linear. It is going to pop a line up for you. You're going to have to go put 2 points. The first point I would plot my y-intercept first, which is that guy, negative 6. So you're going to come put that point, or you're going to move that point. It may pop a line up and you have to slide it. Select the function and adjust the points. So one of the points I'm going to move right here, and then I'm going to use that slope right there, and my slope tells me to go down 3, because it's a -3, and go right 2. Unfortunately, I don't have room for that. So if I can't go down 3 and right 2, I'll go up 3 and left 2. I'll have room for that. 1, 2, 3, left 2, 1, 2. And then, guys, it's just going to pop the line up for you. You're sliding the points into the correct direction. Remember, you can also use Desmos. You can't type that into Desmos, but you can type this into Desmos, okay? So once you have it in slope-intercept form, you can type it into Desmos. Your other option is you can always go out to do the graph on the TI Inspire. So on your TI Inspire, you can go out to the graph, and you can do InSolve. And then in the parentheses, you can type in 3x plus 2y equals -12, comma, solve for y, and it will graph it for you. And then you can kind of see where your graph is supposed to be and see if you can figure out what those points are and graph them. So you do have some options to help check your work. Okay, number 14. The distance a remote controlled car travels varies directly. There's that key word, varies directly. If I have varies directly, I'm doing the big H, okay? So I'm going to have 2 different things that are being measured. This is measuring time in seconds, and it's measuring distance traveled, it looks like in inches, okay? So inches and time. So I'm going to do my labels first. Time, inches, okay? So I can tell you that 63 inches goes with 7.5 seconds. So since I put time on the top, I'm going to put my 7.5 on the top. Since I put inches on the bottom, I'll put 63 on the bottom. So then they changed one thing, and they said, we're going to change your distance to 126 inches. So because of the way I've labeled mine, my inches goes on the bottom. I am solving for this. Multiply, divide. So I'm going to multiply 126 times 7.5. And I'm getting 945. And then I'm going to divide that by 63. And I got 15. So the answer is 15 seconds. Labeling is very important. Okay, numbers 15 and 16, this is going to be a word problem. So Dr. Martinez wants to rent a car from Turo Car Rentals. He was able to model the cost of the rental Y to the number of hours X. I'm going to draw that, okay? So your Y is your cost, and your X is your hours, okay? He did it as a linear function. It charges a fixed cost of $40 in fees for the rental plus $20 per hour. So fixed cost of 40 fees means as soon as you get it, you have to pay that, okay? That's your y-intercept. Happens once. That's your y-intercept. If I was going to write the equation, that would be your plus $40. And then additional 20 per hour, that is your slope. 20x, there's your slope. Y equals 20 per hour plus the $40 fixed rate. You could actually graph that in Desmos if you wanted to, and we could go look at the domain and the range, but we're only going to look at domain and range in that first quadrant. So y equals 20x plus 40. Oops, can't type correctly. Plus 40. I'm going to zoom in here so you can kind of see this. So y'all can see that my line's kind of going up like this, right? Okay. And so my smallest amount, and I really shouldn't go down to the origin, the smallest amount that you're going to pay based on this model is $40. So I'm going to come use a different color highlighter. Here's my x-axis. Let's go do my domain. And then I'm going to do my range second. So what's the least amount of time that I could rent a car? I could rent from 0 on up to however long. So anything above 0 would be my domain. I don't have to rent it at all. And does it give me a limit? Does it tell me you cannot, he would not need the rental for more than 18 hours. So 18 is going to be his cutoff point. So I really shouldn't have drawn that like that. I should have said 18 is his cutoff point. So between 0 and 18 hours is his time because we said X was time. All right. Now for the range, if he rents for 0 hours just to go pick it up, unfortunately, that means he's starting out at $40. Okay. Because it says that there's a fixed rate. If you show up and say you're going to purchase, you're at $40 is where you're going to start. So $40 plus, and then what's the most he can rent for? 18. So $40, the fixed rate, plus 20 times 18 is $360. And that comes out to be, at most, he's going to need to spend $400. So anywhere between $40 and $400 is what he's going to spend on his rental. Fixed rate plus the maximum charges that he could pay. Number 17, I have a function with domain. Let's see. I'll go ahead and full screen this because it's too hard to see. The domain means your X is all real numbers greater than -5 and less than or equal to 3. Let's think about what that means. X greater than -5, less than or equal to. So greater than -5, open, less than, when you see that, or equal to 3. So I'm going to go highlight my graphs. Clearly those numbers are wrong because that stops at a 10. That's -4 to 4, so that's not it. -5, +3, that might be it. -2 to +5, that's not it. So it looks to me like it's B, but let's go check our arrows. Sure enough, when you look at the +3, that is a closed circle, which means it should be underlined. When you look at the -5, that is an open circle, which means it's not underlined. Now we're looking for range. Remember, range is going to be your Y's. So bottom to top, they tell me greater than or equal to -6, greater than or equal to, and less than 2. So no or equal to. All right, we're looking at our y-axis. Y, 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 Y. Okay, top to bottom. It looks like I have a 7, not the right number. -5, not the right number. Okay, over here, -2 and 6. Not the right number. We need -6, +2. So we need opposite of that. Okay. +2, -6. Right numbers. So now let's see if we have the underline right or not, okay? I'm going to go look at this graph right here. So I have a y, have a -6, it's closed. See how it's closed? So it needs to be underlined. And then I have a +2, it's open, so don't underline. That one matches what I wrote up at the top. B is the answer. Let's go ahead and take a look at this last one just to be sure. I have a 6 and a -2. So that would be -2y6. Nope, that one's, the numbers are wrong. They've got the signs flipped again. So B is the correct answer. Okay, I have a linear function on a grid, and all they want to know is the range. And I do have to type it as an inequality. So what we've learned to do with our symbols, you're going to have to do that, okay? So I'm doing my range, which is my y-axis. Remember, DRXY, range. And it looks like I'm going anywhere from -10 up to +2. So I write my y down. I put my low end first. I put my high end second. They are both open, so we do not underline. So that is exactly what I'm going to type in on my test. Needs to look exactly like that. That's it.